रायता ही बड़ा खाने का मन है।
वाह क्या स्वाद!
असली स्वाद तो MDH दही वड़ा रायता मसाले से ही आता है।
Arnab Goswami on the debate.
On the show tonight, P-Gate hits Air India once again and they're trying very, very hard to downplay it. Also on the show tonight, the walk-off protest has gone way too far now. We really need to do something strong. And at 9 o'clock tonight, the story Republic picked up big way yesterday, the return of 2611 mastermind Tahawar Hussain Rana and why it could be a smashing win for India. But first tonight, Air India should be ashamed of itself. Air India should be ashamed in the way it's been running the airline, and the Tatas really ought to get in and do something about it. There were a lot of expectations when the Tatas took on Air India, but it's been one terrible story after the other, one scandal after the other, one case of passenger trauma after the other. They seem to have worked very hard to get everything absolutely wrong. Now, I know Air India is going to say, we're going to fix it eventually. Well, you will. But let me tell you what you've done today. And I hope the Air India bosses are listening to this tonight. No big advertising campaign is going to save you, Air India, when the managing director of a global conglomerate, the India managing director of Bridgestone, a foreign national, flies an Air India plane and he takes off from Delhi to Bangkok. The flight number is AI2336. The date of the flight is the 9th of April. Let me tell you what happened. Another case of P-Gate happened. Another passenger, probably sozzled, probably drunk, went and urinated on Mr. Hiroshi, who was sitting in 1D. A passenger from 2D comes and urinates on another passenger who's the managing director of a leading global MNC. You would have expected that Air India would have taken strong action in this case and caught hold of that P-Gate accused who urinated, probably drunk, on another fellow passenger. You would have thought that Air India would have dragged that person to the police station immediately upon disembarkation and taken it upon themselves to ensure that he did not get away. But, lo and behold, Air India did absolutely nothing. The entire approach of Air India was bury the case, underplay the matter. All they did was they went to the victim and said, do you want to file a case against him? Now that's a managing director of a global MNC. He has business meetings. He has no time to take it upon himself. So Air India said, well, if you don't want to file a complaint, we don't want to either. Here are some wet towels. Clear yourself up. Clean yourself up. We're sorry about what you went through. We're sorry that a fellow passenger urinated on you. We're sorry that you had to become the latest victim in another case of P-Gate. And then they said, nobody's complaining. Let's move on. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? This could happen to you. Tomorrow, if you are going on an Air India plane, someone can come and slap you and attack you. Someone can come and urinate on you or spit on you, and Air India will expect you to take the onus on yourself to go to the police station. And if you don't take the onus on yourself, Air India is going to say, cool, well, sorry, let's just move on. There's this move on approach. There is this chalta hai attitude that has hit Air India. Air India should be totally ashamed of itself because it has now landed up with a letter from the Bridgestone Managing Director's office. What are you doing, Air India? Now, what they've said is, they say, rightly so, and I want to read out this letter because this could happen to you. While Mr. Yoshizane was asleep during the flight, another passenger, clearly in an inebriated state and incapable of walking properly, urinated on Mr. Yoshizane's legs. The fact that such a person was permitted to board and remain on board an international flight in that condition is not only outrageous, but poses a serious threat to passenger safety and dignity. This deplorable act led to Mr. Yoshizane being soaked in urine mid-flight, an unthinkable situation in any civil aviation environment, let alone in business class. Now, we place on record our strong protest against the negligence of Air India in allowing a visibly intoxicated individual to board and remain on board an international flight. This demonstrates a serious lapse in pre-boarding screening and on-board supervision. thereby compromising the comfort and safety of other passengers. And they have demanded immediate identification of the individual, a formal apology from Air India, an assurance and clarity on the measures being taken by Air India, and appropriate compensation for this mental distress and inconvenience. And it has said that if Air India does not respond in 7 days, then they're going to take this matter up diplomatically and in every which way. Now, viewers, everybody is not a managing director of an MNC to have a legal team to take on Air India. But the fact is, what is Air India up to? What are these airlines up to? Why do they feel that they can charge passengers anything and owe them no responsibility? Air India is taking passengers for granted. And if anyone from the Tata Group is listening to this tonight, stop defending what's going on in Air India. To Air India, I would like to say, stop trying to treat this like a public relations event or a PR disaster. What's going on in Air India is a disaster. You owe an explanation. And to Air India, I would say, take the opportunity, send your spokespersons on this program tomorrow and explain to the people watching the debate why they should not feel that you are just one another arrogant airline enjoying super monopoly status in India. And I want to say this to Air India, that if you believe that because you've got this huge consortium, Vistara, Air India have all come together, they're one big conglomerate, and you and Indigo basically rule the airwaves, let me tell Indigo, Air India, and every other airline, the passengers own the airlines because we pay for the tickets. This feeling that you're a corporate monopoly cannot be allowed. This matter will escalate. Let's debate.
40,000 feet above sea level, another P-Gate episode has hit Indian aviation. The managing director of a global firm, Bridgestone, latest victim of P-Gate mid-air, once again on Air India, after a fellow passenger urinated on him on a Bangkok-bound flight, that too in business class. In a letter, Air India apprised the DGCA of the P-Gate episode that unfolded during the aircraft's descent. But what is shocking is how the airline allegedly downplayed the P-Gate episode, as per this letter. Air India, in its response, tries to trivialize the episode. They say the accused passenger was quote-unquote warned, after which he was relocated to another seat. And when Republic questioned their lack of strict action on the matter, the airline reiterating that they warned the passenger and that a standing committee would assess the situation. What typically is a technical response to a serious scandal mid-air. 2 years ago, Republic had led a campaign demanding the arrest of 34-year-old Shankar Mishra, who had urinated on an elderly female passenger when he turned defiant and attempted to flee. It was Republic that had relentlessly questioned those in authority over their inaction and for the mere imposition of a 30-day flying ban. Tonight, Air India is back in the spotlight, on test again. The victim has written a strongly worded email to Air India demanding strict action against the individual who he claims was visibly intoxicated and yet allowed on the flight without checks.
The victim says that he's writing this letter to lodge a serious formal complaint regarding an appalling and wholly unacceptable incident that occurred on board flight Delhi to Bangkok on 9th of April. There are 4 demands that he actually makes. And the demand number 1, immediate identification and action against the individual who committed this act. A formal apology from Air India in writing. Number 3, assurance and clarity on measures being taken by Air India to ensure that gross incidents do not recur. Appropriate compensation for the mental distress, inconvenience and humiliation that has been caused during his international business travel.
No complaint filed, no accountability. Is Air India trying to bury another P-Gate episode?
Sandeep Ghosh and Advaita Kala, both citizens' voices on 2 sides tonight, and Sanath Kaul is the chairman of the International Foundation for Aviation, Aerospace and Drones, and defending Air India, as usual, is the familiar face of Jitendra Bhagar, former executive director Air India. There's nothing to defend out here. You know, a passenger goes and urinates on another passenger, and Air India says, here are some wet towels. Would you like to complain? And the person is in business class, he has business meetings, he looks at them obviously expecting Air India is going to do something. And Air India said, well, you know, you did nothing. Here are some wet towels. We're sorry someone urinated on you. You should be grateful to us that we offered you the wet towels, right? And can you just move on? Now, tomorrow anyone can urinate on anyone, anyone can slap anyone, anyone can abuse anyone, anyone can behave in the idiotic way that a Kunal Kamra also did, right? And get away with it. Because the airline will say, what's my responsibility? It's between both of you guys. It's between the accused and the victim. Mr. Bhargav.
Yes, I am not likely to defend such a case with all the facts you've laid out in the public domain now. The complaint from the letter, of course, Air India's version, as you might receive the press release, says they have informed the DGCA, the passenger was disinclined to file a formal complaint, so no action was taken. But considering the fact that you just read out the letter, the passenger is insisting on a complaint and seeking action against the culprit. Now, there is no reason why Air India should be shielding the culprit. Take action against him. The fault lies as
India has let the culprit go. Excuse me, Jitendra Bhargav, 1 minute. Let me get in, Sandeep here. Sandeep, Air India let the culprit who urinated go and said, we reprimanded him. And they must have said, oh, naughty boy, going and urinating on other people. Very bad, don't do it again. And that he let them go. I mean, Air India has been crazy in this. What do you think, Sandeep?
I think Air India is going through an identity crisis. It's not been able to change its mindset from its earlier public sector situation to today that it wants to compete with an international airline. See, in any merger and takeover, the biggest point is not finance, not buying off people, payment, what you do, but is a cultural change. I think that is something which Air India has not been able to cope with as yet. So this smacks of both at one level, I would say incompetence or lack of training of these people, that they have not been culturally attuned. On the other side, I think there is also a lack of empowerment. That's why people, the staff still do not feel empowered or confident enough to take these actions against such errant passengers. Because some of these passengers still treat Air India as the, Desi Ghar Ki airline, and the staff also in the same mode. They have to make that shift. And, investigation doesn't matter, because in today's interconnected world...
Open lines. Okay, we're opening lines on this. After introductory comments, you're opening lines. You open the lines here tonight. Too many people are calling tonight with their disaster experience of Air India. They say things have gone crazy in Air India, and they're pleading to the Tatas to get something fixed in this airline, because it's going from disaster to disaster. Now they're saying here, Advaita, they say, despite the incident, look at the way they're attacking the passenger who's been urinated on. Despite the incident, which means despite being urinated on, the passenger in 1D, who's the one who's been urinated on, chose not to file a complaint. And no other passengers came forward to report or support a formal complaint either. So the whole onus is on the passenger who's been urinated. And therefore, the passenger who urinated expressed guilt. He apologized for his actions, and he was issued a warning by the crew. So a group of air hostesses must have gone and said, very bad, don't do this again. And these people are worse because they don't issue a formal complaint. But we got nothing to do with it. You can go away. And he's gone. What impression is this giving on you? Advaita, what do you think?
Arnab,
open the lines. Yeah.
I have more of a nuanced perspective on this, because I really do feel that when you have two paying passengers on a flight, then they're on equal ground. Now, if this is an incident where one passenger does not want to pursue legal remedies, which was the case when the flight was airborne, when this incident happened, when they landed, the aggrieved passenger didn't want to pursue it. So now the airline cannot force them to pursue a legal case unless they decide that that's what the action they want to take.
Okay, so you're saying that if there's a murder in a hotel, 1 minute, you're saying that if there's a murder in a hotel and one person murders another person, right, then the onus is on the murdered person to rise from death and then issue a formal complaint, otherwise the hotel is going to do nothing about it. This is crazy behavior by Air India, and you're justifying it. You're justifying it. Oh, so you're saying urination is not equal to murder? Urination is okay. You can be urinated on. You can be urinated on. It's okay. It's okay because Air India is a big company. You see, the passengers are nothing. The passengers are nothing.
Whether he wants to pursue it or not, he has agency. He's alive.
Oh,
he has the right.
And what is the responsibility of Air India in your view? Or Jitendra Bhargava, what's their responsibility?
I think Air India should blacklist this passenger who peed. I don't think there's anything anyone would say supporting this passenger at all. The harshest action that the airline can take against him should happen. But you can't initiate a legal
Advaita, point being, they didn't do that either. I go to Sanat call, Air India didn't do that either. They didn't even blacklist this guy. They said, very bad, don't do this again. Remember on the return flight, don't go and urinate on somebody again now. We're going to let you go.
Okay.
A Sanat call.
Let me just explain without interruption. I think, firstly, it's a criminal offense. It should be treated as a criminal offense. Second, this is not the first time it's happened. In 2022, this happened as you described earlier, Arnab, and it was not taken seriously. Even the crew, which is responsible for ensuring that people don't get drunk, were, I would say, negligent, but they were only put off roster.
Open the lens.
They were not given any punishment or anything like that. Now, third, I want to give you my personal case, which happened around 2003-04, when I was traveling in first class from New York to Delhi. And a passenger sitting next to me started asking me, firstly, he was drunk already. He had had 2 or 3 drinks. Then he asked me, who are you? What's your name? This. He interviewed me. Then I told him that I'm India's representative to International Civil Aviation Organization. Oh, why are we putting you there? Why is the government paying? I'm a taxpayer. I demand. By that time, the crew came. They said, you will not answer him. They came and they told him he wanted more drinks. He said, you will not get more drinks. You have had too many. And then they got all the passengers they prepared a petition of his behavior. They made all the passengers sign. Of course, in the meantime, he was coming out with the usual, I know the MD, I know the chairman of Air India, I will get you thrown out, I will do this, I will do that. Air India was also good. It is wrong to say that during public sector days, it was not good. The crew was excellent that time, and they made that man, all his alcohol came down to 0. By the time they finished with him, he was quiet like a little mouse. He was sitting there. After that, he didn't utter a word. Nothing, no attempt at going to managing director of Air India to have him thrown out and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that there is something seriously wrong, even with the present Air India. They are not doing
something wrong, but this is whole
the previous Air India,
it doesn't.
Sector did take action.
Yeah, there's something.
That was a much lesser.
There is something obviously wrong with the airlines. I mean, one has to recognize that. You know, when that fellow Kunal Kamra behaved like an idiot with me on an airline, Indigo did nothing. In fact, there's something very sinister about the way the fellow followed me on the return flight from Lucknow. He came back on the flight the next day with me. He came back on the flight the next day with me. I thought he was put there by something. I still believe there was some agenda that guy had. But the fact is that these airlines take no notice of passenger security. They don't care about passenger dignity. I'm appalled, Advaita, that you're backing Air India tonight for what they've done. I'm truly appalled with your position, because Air India's justification is
because Arnab,
this could happen to anyone. This could happen to you or me.
You're saying legal remedy. Legal remedy, but the victim has to cooperate.
The victim is not saying he's not going to cooperate, but the onus is on the airline. If somebody gets urinated on or slapped or spat on an airline, the airline has to do something. Air India does nothing.
They should take action against the passenger.
Air India doesn't want to do anything. Air India doesn't want to do anything.
Arnab, let's put it this way. If Air India...
I don't know what the Tatas are doing with Air India.
No, Arnab, listen.
They're answerable to nobody. They have a feeling they own nothing. And I think they're trying to behave like a super monopoly. They don't care about people because they feel they've got this air monopoly.
See, Arnab, your incident on that plane was very sinister. It was threatening. It could have caused you bodily harm. It could have caused you stress.
Well, the airline and the pilot did nothing. Hello, 1 minute. The airline and the pilot did nothing. Let me tell you, after that incident, you know, the pilot and the airline, the pilot of that flight and Kunal Kamra were exchanging sweet nothings while going out, and Indigo put Kunal Kamra on the flight back with me the next day. And the man is, anyway, I think he's insane. But on top of it, you can't allow that. It's about passenger safety. You can be inebriated or insane, but you're a threat. How would you feel tomorrow if this happened to you? Would you not expect the airline to do something, Jitendra?
Arnab, listen, there are 3 points.
Open the lines tonight. Lines are burning.
The incident happened on a flight which is unfortunate, which cannot be condoned.
Unfortunate is an English word in this case, which means nothing to me.
Number 2, if Air India was to make a complaint to the Bangkok police, the Bangkok police would have said, who is the complainant?
The pilot should have called the Bangkok police, informed, and he should have been arrested on arrival.
Now, let me have my say. Since he was disinclined, Air India couldn't have registered a complaint. Third, regarding the...
Air India thinks it's going to get away with one-line paragraph responses through its PR agencies.
There is a system where there's an independent committee. When he comes, he will be put before that committee, facts are given and put on a no-fly list.
Which independent committee? Air India simply said we'll inform DGCA and move on with it.
You can't expect everything to be, decision to be taken and then to be...
Yeah, of course, decisions will be taken after a screaming match here on Republic, and it will happen.
Mr. Bhargava.
No. I agree with you.
Yeah. Sandeep Ghosh.
Mr. Bhargava, there is one part of the legality which my friend Advaita is also talking about, though I don't agree with her, only a physical harm has to be acted upon, not any other kind of abuse. But there is also a question, it's also a question of national image. You're trying to really revive this airline and take it. Today, Air India doesn't charge anything less than any other international airline. So, and then when you don't get, Advaita may not remember, she had tweeted some time ago about someone traveling on business class paying 5.5 lakh rupees and not getting the food of choice. Now, those are minor things which...
No, but this is P-gate. This is serious.
Therefore, this is important, and it's not a question of what, they are following the SOP, what I understand. They have complained to DGCA, I understand, but you have to also manage the PR fallout, because that reputation, as it is, a lot to catch up.
This used to be my national airline, and it is being handled in a disgraceful manner. It's my national airline. This is not my expectation.
It's not.
It may be owned by a company, but I believe as an Indian citizen, it is my national airline. And this is terrible.
We are blaming the airline, but at the same time, they could not have gone ahead and filed a
I mean, there are very recently...
Air India failed to provide a wheelchair to an elderly person recently. Air India left passengers trapped without AC in Mumbai. Air India provides the worst possible service to its business class passengers. These passengers are left stranded for 2 days in Far East Russia because of a technical glitch. You want me to tell you, I'm not even saying that. But this takes the cake. You get peed on, you get urinated on, and Air India lets the culprit get away, saying you didn't bother to complain, we're going to do nothing.
Sanad did not have been an Indian
What
passenger.
would have you done?
Sanad, what do you think?
I don't
in charge of Bangkok Airport.
Open the... Ankit is calling from Delhi. Ankit, what do you think? Ankit, hi.
Hi, Arnab. This is a pleasure to talk with you once again. And I've been listening to Jitendra as a former director from Air India. And I'm surprised to hear his response that a passenger did not complain. Crew staff was well in the authority to complain airport and
Precisely.
Hold of that person. And moreover, with all the due respect to him, if he places himself at the place of the person who has been victimized, what would he have done?
Yeah, I do understand. I completely agree with you. Vedi from Chennai. Vedi, what do you think?
Pleasure to be back again. This is, if you want me to put it in one word, it is absolute complacency on the part of Air India.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They do not want to take this complaint seriously, and that too from a passenger who flew the business class only to get urinated upon.
Yeah.
This is atrocious to say the least, and Air India owes an explanation, and such things shall never be repeated again in the annals of their flying
Absolutely.
history
DK Bakshi from Noida. DK Bakshi, please.
Hi, Arnab.
Hi.
It is indeed a pleasure to talk to you. I have been facing you 3 years now.
Thank you.
Niranjan and even Jasmeet, we have been facing you, but no response. And yes, good to talk to you. It is a shameful exercise on behalf of Air India. I am a Bangkokian. I am from the Indian diaspora. We regularly see this nonsense going on.
You regularly see this nonsense. Audio is bad, but that's very critical. DK Bakshi. Sunil from Bengaluru. Yeah. Sunil, hi.
Hi, Arnab, sir. I'm a very fan of yours.
Thank you,
and I'm very happy today to first speak to you. I know the issue is something different. But I would like to say you are a public hero, sir.
Thank you,
I mean,
sir.
like every issue you are just picking it up, and you are really a public hero. If there is anything for us, you are standing by us. On this issue, what I would like to say is, all the airlines, Arnabji, they charge money. If someone is uneducated, if they have not studied, they charge them money as well, like for the ticket. But they don't respect them. When they are in, they're asking for, where is my seat number? They don't respond. I have seen this, while I was in the flight. So we public, the people who are just next to them, we help them, we support them.
Exactly.
But
I'm telling you, so many people calling this happening to someone traveling business class. What about somebody who travels economy? They're going to be treated very, very badly. Mukesh Kumar from Bengaluru. There's so many calls tonight. Yeah, Mukesh. And I think the Civil Aviation Minister should do something. We're going to pick it up and send a request for a response from the Civil Aviation Minister as well. Mukesh, hi.
Hi, Arnab.
Hi, Mukesh.
See, Air India has been almost got free by
Tatas.
And absolutely there is no change except ownership. The culture, the attitude remains the same. And in fact, all airlines in India are similar. They are so greedy, unlike, airlines of neighboring countries like Dubai or Singapore or many other countries. Why can't they treat passengers like human
they
beings?
treat passengers badly. I agree with you, Mukesh. I know this is becoming, the arrogance shows you behave, your service is like you're doing a favor. You don't even let people know if your flight has been rescheduled. You call people in early. You just move people around like cattle. It's really terrible. Radhika is calling from Pune. Radhika, hi.
Hi, Arnab. Can you hear me?
Very much, yeah.
What? I have been in the international airline business and I have managed international flights. And I can tell you that Air India has been an embarrassment for the last 30 years at least. I was a passenger on first class in Air India and my child was in the economy cabin. And when I went to say hello to him, I saw a scene which was horrific. Passengers were beating each other up and the crew had disappeared into the galley because they were so afraid to deal with the situation.
When was this?
Air India in its new avatar seems not to have changed at all. And I have even contacted Mr. Campbell to say that I would be very happy to offer you free advisory if you really want to get your act together.
Yeah.
Air India's crew are not equipped to deal with such situations. If I were to be managing the flight, I would have immediately gone to the captain and said, this passenger may be drunk, he is a nuisance, he has urinated on somebody else, can we restrict him or call for the security at the next transit, which in this case it was Bangkok.
Did happen.
The captain would have radioed ahead and had security
It
remove
did not
this
happen.
man.
Exactly, Radhika. And they're saying now, Sanat, I want to go back to you, Sanat. They're saying the fault is that of the passenger that he did not complain.
Not at all. The captain is the head of the flight, and it was his responsibility to ensure that the criminal activity done by one passenger on the other is fully reported. And he could have actually asked for some help from the Bangkok authority, a police help or even otherwise. But it was a criminal act. So I think it requires a police help also. So I don't agree with all the other speakers here. And I think it was a very serious issue, especially when it has taken place for the second or third time in Air India. And the first time in 2022, nothing seriously was done by the Air India management. And therefore, I think the people who are traveling by Air India realize that, you can do anything.
No, it's the sensitivity and the empathy is missing. There was an 82-year-old passenger in Delhi airport, pre-booked wheelchair, and they just said, oh, she should have come a little early. The tone is of total arrogance. Total arrogance. We got the business. We are the monopoly. You puny passengers can only complain, but we set the rules. Is the attitude, Jitendra? This is the attitude. Earlier it was we serve only the mantri's approach, and now there is this highbrow corporate approach.
Arnab,
and by the way, the mantris are still having a good time. I think Air India should stop giving special service to politicians. If it is truly a corporate, they're not doing that. I can tell you dime a dozen cases, politicians, MPs, ex-MPs, mantris, all treated like they are royalty on Air India. Nothing's changed.
Let me put it across.
What do you put across?
No, hold it. All panelists have been saying that Air India neglects the passengers. Who's the culprit in this incident? A passenger. Could you have subjected him to check on boarding the aircraft? The answer is no. Let's have a system.
I'm not saying throw him off the aircraft, get him arrested on landing.
You have an opportunity to deboard a passenger and say, we'll not allow you to get on because you seem to be drunk. Look at the kind of hangama that we follow on this.
Oh, okay. So drunk passengers will be allowed. Hold it. And after having duly urinated on others, they will be mildly reprimanded and let off. Wonderful.
That yes, they could have pursued it and they have pursued followed from the previous experience. But in this case, Mr. Sanat Paul says you could have gone and filed a complaint. If I was
got to go to the next debate. But
Bangkok airport, I would first say, where is the complainant?
Jitendra, don't defend the indefensible, man. Don't defend the It's because of people like you defending Air India for 30 years is going from bad to worse. Had you been more critical, things would have improved. It's because of people like you, Jitendra.
In this particular incident, it wasn't a service lapse. It was a passenger who behaved this way. I mean, the way passengers behave on these flights, you need bodybuilders as a crew, as cabin crew.
Advaita,
down blankets into loose.
Sandeep,
doing all those.
Sandeep, tell Advaita.
You never take accountable. You just
of course,
take
Advaita.
accountability of passengers.
No, Advaita, to get that accountability, I totally agree with you. And whether it's for the VIPs or whether it's for the armed passenger, if the airline doesn't enforce, you have to put them in their place. I think there we are also too defensive as Air India because that's where I said the hangover of the PSU days. Maybe
does Air India need to put diapers in a care package?
No.
For business class passengers.
Not diapers.
I mean,
this person has to
take accountability for their own behavior.
So you have to. No, but you can't expect.
Or Sandeep,
what did Air India do? Nothing.
If you would have done this in another international airline flight, how would that passenger have been treated? How would that passenger been treated?
You can't toss him out of the plane mid-flight.
I didn't say toss him out of the plane, but Air India did nothing, which shows that Air India is insensitive, unempathetic, not even sympathetic, and being absolutely irresponsible in trying to determine the rules in a case like this. And I'd only say to the Tatas, call up whoever's running Air India, tell them to get their act together. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment.
लाल रंग इसका अपार, तीखा कम है फिर भी स्वाद, बेमिसाल बेमिसाल MDH कश्मीरी